Hello and welcome to the Penno channel. As usual, I'm joined by my bro and a special guest as well. If you haven't watched Armchairs Car Gaffers, check it out on YouTube. It's a great show. And here is one of the main guys from there. We're joined with TJ. TJ, thanks for joining us, bro.
No worries, man. No worries. I'm honoured to be on the Penno channel.
No, big up, big up. Bro, how you doing as well? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. I'm good, man. I'm still happy after that Forest win. So I've been happy all week and I'm just looking forward to the Luton game now.
Yeah, another big game coming up, man. Another big game. So yeah, we're here today for the match preview of Luton versus Aston Villa. Aston Villa going to Kenilworth Road. A massive game. After 2 wins in a row now. It's a huge game. We wanted to try and make it three wins now and trying to cement that top 4 spot. As you know, United are playing Man City this weekend, which is another massive game. So, boys, what are your thoughts? Luton away. As the guest, TJ, I'll go with you first. How are you feeling about this one?
Oh man, I'll be honest. I'm not confident. I'm not too confident. Like obviously, from like a tactical perspective, I expect us to win. But being an Aston Villa fan, it's not just tactics. It's a bit more than that. It depends. Like I don't know if Rob Edwards will go like man for man. Like he's kind of been doing the past few games against City United, or I don't know if he's like a bit smarter, but I feel like he'll probably watch the tape back from like the Sheffield United game when we were at home, the Burnley game when we were at home as well, and I think he'll sit deep. So if he does sit deep, I'm not confident, man.
Yeah, it sounds mad. Bro, how are you feeling about it? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like watching top 6 sides go to Kenilworth Road this season, it seems like no matter how good the team is, they struggle during the game. Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City have all had tough games there. Even Spurs as well when they played them, even though they had a red card. So I'm not expecting at any point to be confident during the game or feeling comfortable. But I do think we'll win. I do think we'll win, and it might be scrappy. But I think Watkins is going to come through again and save us, man. He started that goal scoring run where he'll just score in a consecutive game. So yeah, I'm hoping he can pull through, and hopefully Pau Torres is in that starting lineup because you know how crucial he is to see how we play. I haven't seen him in training pictures yet this week, so I'm a bit nervous. You know, Villa normally when a player's back, they'll show him off on social, so they haven't shown him off yet. So we'll see how that goes. But
yeah. So we're going to this one while Luton themselves go into this one having that defeat to Man City in the cup in midweek. I don't know if you guys caught it or caught any of that game. It was the Kevin De Bruyne, Erling Haaland show. They went straight through him. It was mad. It was mad. That relationship they have is ridiculous. But Luton themselves, they went quite strong. Having a look at the squad and the lineup they went for, the only players arrested really were Koleosho and Sambi Lokonga, and also Kaminsky in goal. So they played Tim Krul in goal. So there's only 3 players really that got arrested. The rest of the team was their starting 11. So they've gone into that one having played in midweek as well. Yeah. Disappointed with the full performance potentially. I mean, City could have got 10 that game. It was mad. It was a mad show. Do you think we can combat that with Watkins and Tielemans and use a similar sort of game plan as City did with De Bruyne and Haaland? Obviously, we're not City, but we played City off the park this year one time. So can we do a similar sort of thing?
I don't think we're scoring 6 at Kenilworth Road. I don't think, as much as I love Watkins, like I don't know what Luton have been on like recently, but like they've been proper trying to go for teams. And I think Rob Edwards probably got a bit confident after, obviously they've been close in a lot of games. They've lost a lot of games, but he probably was like, yo, let's properly go for City. I know they rested Sambi Lokonga, but I thought that was more like tactical because they played like Jordan Clark, centre mid, who's just like, he's a bit more nifty, probably a bit of a luxury player, but
back to as well.
Yeah, I guess it worked to some extent because he scored 2, but I feel like the way that City were playing, like it was crazy how they were positionless like the whole game because Pep obviously knew that Luton were going to try and go like man for man with them, and then Pep's just gone right. No one's playing any positions today, and I don't think Unai Emery trusts our squads enough to do that. And I don't know, like players like Jacob Ramsey, I love Jacob Ramsey, but I don't know if we can tactically with players like Ramsey, obviously Cash as well. I don't know if tactically we can go to Luton and do what City did, but I reckon it'll be a good game. We just need to score first. I think that's the biggest thing.
Facts. That's the thing with Villa. Like we know, man, 16 games, 15 wins, 1 loss, and even that loss to United was like a bullshit kind of game. Like we should have done better and seen that result out. So scoring first, allowing them to press us, and we can play around the back a bit, create more spaces in behind. That's what Emery likes, and that's why it's so crucial that we do get that first goal, man. Because otherwise, I just don't like how Villa set up once we go behind and the game state changes and we're trying to force play. Fans get first because the football's not as exciting when we are in a losing game state, in my opinion, because it does feel a bit forced. So yeah, hopefully we get the first goal, man.
Yeah, it's massive, and I think this season we've only dropped 3 points from being in the lead. That was against United. Apart from that, we've got maximum points when we've taken the lead. So it's a big factor, and usually when we take the lead, we don't give it up. We don't give it up too lightly. A big one from the week is Ezri Konsa back in full training. Do you guys think he'll come straight back into the lineup this weekend, especially if Pau Torres isn't available first, and even if Pau Torres is available, do you think he'll make his way into the lineup?
I don't think he needs to be honest. Like, I think the whole Pau Torres thing has kind of scared me about like fitness in the squad. I don't want to be one of those clubs that feels like they have to rush players. Like, as much as Matty Cash is a big fall off from Konsa, like tactically, because I assume that if Konsa was going to come back, obviously Longlay's playing quite well. Pau Torres, we need Pau Torres essentially. But I think from like a tactical perspective, I don't think we need Konsa to win against Luton. If we were playing like Arsenal or City or Liverpool, I'd be like, we need Konsa back. But at the end of the day, it is Luton. Like, if we can just give him some time, rest him. Let's say we're up 2-3-0 by the 70th minute, bring him on then I'd prefer that. But I don't really want us to be out, trying to get like, them ones on like FM when like the players got like half the bar and you're like, let me risk it. I'm not trying to risk it. Just let him get back to full bar and then.
So TJ, like if it's Chambers and Lenglet, how are you feeling about that?
Obviously,
I'm comfortable.
I'm uncomfortable, but like, I don't think Chambers is bad. I just don't think he's good enough to consistently be at the level of our squad. But the thing with players like Chambers is you just need them to come in and just have a good 90 minutes. Like, if Emery trusts that he can just come in and have a good 90 minutes, then that's all we need. Like, obviously then, like, if Konsa was out for the rest of the season and we're looking at Chambers as like a, like a full-on replacement, then I'm worried. But when it comes to Chambers, just do what you need to do for 90 minutes and we'll be happy. But I don't mind if we go Cash, Chambers, Longley, Moreno. I don't mind it because at the end of the day, they got Carlton Morris. I hope they play Cauley Woodrow because he's trash.
Yeah, same. I don't think Adebayo's fit and available. I think he's returning mid-March. He'll be back. So Adebayo's massive because
that's a big loss for them.
At the back,
that's a big loss for them.
Especially if it is Lenglet and Chambers at the back. So yeah, we'll go through a few comments, see what people are saying. I don't know, bro. What's your thoughts, Chambers and Lenglet, before we go to them?
I just find it funny, like how Emery's approach now has fully changed in the media with Chambers. Because a couple months ago, he was just like, he can go, man. It's fine. Like he's already gone. I don't even really see him as like a Villa player, essentially. And now he's had to like reel it in a bit, and he's had to try and talk nicely about him in the media and bring his confidence back up because he knows that he needs him now. So yeah, do you reckon Emery regrets being like so strong initially, saying like Traore and Chambers you can go or whatever, or do you think it's just unlucky with like injuries and he's had to be forced to use him now?
I think it's an unlucky one. Like in that situation, I think Emery, he's just stating facts. He's being honest with him. He's saying I don't require you at the club anymore. So if you find a club in January, you're free to leave. Now it's come to that circumstance. I think Callum Chambers is an experienced player. He's been around the place. He's played at Fulham, Arsenal, Southampton. Had loan spell. The Fulham spell was a loan spell within that. So I think he knows, and he knows his role in a sense. And he did tweet something last week stating that he's just going to perform when he's called upon. So I don't think that will affect Chambers. I don't.
Yeah, he had that tweet in the dress for ages, man. Like he
was waiting for that appearance.
That was a paragraph he sent as well.
Yeah, I'll go through the comments. Andy, thanks for joining. He goes, absolutely not. Where would he fit into our current team? That's
We'll get
what's
onto
on the title
Barkley.
of the video, which we'll get
Onto
onto.
Barkley.
We'll get onto for sure. Colin said, "What's up, Penno? Much love from Chicago. Big up, Colin." He said, "Yeah, in response to the title, we did not make a mistake letting him go." So yeah, two against that. And he says, "Evening, gents." Paul says, "We will rest players and have strong bench, or start strong and swap. But either way, I think a 2-1 win, and Ramsey's due a goal. Ramsey's due a goal. You know, his confidence is building. You can see that in his performances, and yeah, I think he'll get one soon." Andy's saying he's confident. Taylor, thanks for joining. He said it might be a close one. Luton Town are pretty resilient. Facts, we've seen them play against the big sides at Kenilworth Road, and they give him a game. They give him a game, and we're coming across as fourth in the league. They'll be up for the game for sure. Paul says, "Evening all, by the way, from Smoke Swansea." Thanks for joining, Paul. Andy says, "I think we beat him 3-1 again." Gary, thanks for joining. Says, "Hi guys, we are back on track, but let's not be too confident. It'll be a high scoring one. This, yeah, I've got a feeling there'll be a few goals in this one." Talal says, "If we keep momentum from the first goal, I think we could win." Gary says, "Cash stays defensive, he will be fine." Colin, "I prefer Konza and Lenglet or Power and Lenglet." Yeah, that's our strongest for sure. But if Konza's not ready, I think don't rush him, man. Don't rush him. Talal says, "We are 14 places away from Luton, so it could be quite comfortable." Andy's going for Digne ahead of Moreno. What's your thoughts on that? They're having a battle this year for sure. They're having a battle. How you
Yeah,
feeling?
I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this as well. Like, who do you prefer right now, Dean or Moreno?
Is that me or
Yeah,
TJ,
that's you.
we'll go you. What's your
Oh,
thoughts?
I think if you watch Dean and Moreno and you prefer Dean, then I don't. Andy, like, shout out Andy, but what are you watching? Like, tactically, physically, profile wise, Moreno's just got it all, like, over Dean. I can hear where you're coming from, because I think when Dean came in, he played good, but I always look at Dean as a system player. If the system's right, then he won't play bad. He won't play amazing, but he just won't play bad. Whereas Moreno, I think you could chuck Moreno into any team, bar City. I haven't seen Robertson for a while. Bar City, and yeah, maybe Arsenal. And he's doing fine. I think with Moreno, you get someone who's confident. Like, first of all, Digne is just, the reason he spams crosses is because he's not confident enough to beat a man. Because he knows that if he tries to take a man on one, 90% chance he's going to get tackled, and then he's got all the space in behind. Which obviously that's the way that Emery wants to play. He wants his win backs to go up and whatever. So you can't beat a man. He spams crosses, which is, again, it's just a product of his
Not a
profile.
fan.
I don't mind Digne. Like, he comes in and does a job. I feel the same way about Digne as I do about someone like Chambers. Like, realistically, you shouldn't be on the payroll, but you are. So just do a job when we ask you to do a job. You know that you got a bigger brother over here who's going to be starting most of the games. But when we called upon you, just do a job. But obviously, start of the season when Moreno was out, we saw Digne's, we that Nottingham Forest game. Just Andy, just go back and watch a Nottingham Forest game. That's just Luca Dean to a T. But I won't be one of these fans that's like, oh, he's trash, whatever. He serves a purpose. That's what he does. But as soon as you start saying Digne ahead of Moreno,
I think this season it's going to be a battle, for Digne and Moreno towards the end of the season, because I think Moreno's had some games defensively where his actions haven't been great. I think at times players have got past him easily, which wasn't part of his game last year. Not at all. No one was getting past him, even when he was coming forward, and the way we were playing, we were pushing across. They weren't finding space. But a few games this season, he's been quite out of position. I'm not sure his pace is at the same level as it was last year, due to the injury, obviously. So I think it's close. It's going to be closer than a lot of things. Because I was like, when Moreno's back, his first choice straight away. Like, I think he's a better player. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Digne will fight for his place for sure, but he might get some starts.
I hear it. I think like when you start thinking about kind of like the off-field side of it, that's when Digne just becomes a bit more of, I don't know how to describe it, just a bit more less. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously the amount of money that he's on, the way that we signed him as well, like, everyone was like, "Oh, why is Everton letting Digne go so easily?" I was sat there like, "There's a reason why they." Do you know what I mean? Like we're giving
And
you
the fact
yeah.
25 million.
the fact it was
Joe-
a Gerard recommendation, like them ones, like it's not the
Yeah,
best.
it's at all. And I think like with Digne, like obviously like Moreno, players will skip past him. He does have negatives to his game, but let's not act like Digne doesn't have those same things. Like I've seen Digne
Facts.
get nutmegs, get nicked past a lot of times, and I think with the way that Aston Villa play as well, it kind of goes back to the system thing. You can tell when other teams, when we overload to the right side of the pitch, like we try to do a lot, you can tell when a right back is like playing against Dino and playing against Moreno. Because a right back will look at Moreno and he'll be like, I need to come over to the other side of the pitch, but let me stick a bit closer. With Dino, you'll see a lot of the time, right backs will tend to leave him. And that's what angers me more about Dino is he's always got so much space and he only utilizes it about 20, 30% of the time. And he's improved because last year he would utilize it 10% of the time. That's the only difference. And if you just look at the average positions as well, like you can just see how much more dynamic Moreno is kind of like to the build up and stuff like that. But I will admit, Moreno, if he was to leave in summer, I wouldn't be angry. Do you know what I'm saying? I'd kind of be like,
I wouldn't
I
be
think-
surprised if both
I
can be
think that
moved on.
Luca Dean point that you're saying about space is important because I remember Wolves away this season and he had acres in front of him. And it's almost like he's one of the very few players that can turn that type of situation into a duel where the defender gets back and he's back and he's covered. And whereas Moreno, he can attack the space, he can drive into the box. Like even analysing Moreno's game against Forest, like he was suspect defensively when he picked up the booking. And I think because everyone else was having a good game, it kind of stood out more. However, on the flip side, he still got to the box and he played that cutback for Tillemans, who maybe could have scored. Maybe if he gets an assist, the perception of Moreno's game changes a little bit. So I still think the attacking side's there. I just think fans are a bit more nervous with Moreno because of his defense. Like my brother said, he probably is a bit worse defensively this season, whether that's injuries or lacking the pace. But for me, Moreno is still starting over Dean, like 100%.
Yeah.
Facts. We'll see what Emery does, man. But
I need him for my
Dean's back injured. Yeah, you're FPL and you need Moreno starting. You need them points.
Emery, please don't be switching it out too much.
Gary says Chambers is the perfect sub, does a job and doesn't moan if he doesn't play. Yeah, I agree with that. Especially in times of need now, that's the perfect player you need in there. He's sixth choice, so he's coming in doing the job, and I think he's fully committed. GA's joined us. He says, hello, TJ and Adam / Gordon. Big up, GA. And
big up Gordon, man. Gordon always tunes into our streams, man.
Big up. Gary says, we found Coutinho. He's still in Qatar, I believe, but injured most of the time. TJ, we shouted out, where's Coutinho?
Where's Coutinho?
What's your thoughts? Man? Where is Coutinho in this world?
Bruv, when I saw him go to Qatar, I was like, yeah, if you're not even going Saudi, then something's happening here.
That's the budget version.
Yeah, man, something's happening here. Like he looked at Saudi and he was like,
yeah,
bro, he thought Saudi was too competitive. So he went, let me just go Qatar. It's crazy. Yeah. Do you know what's mad? And I stand on this hill. I'd take Coutinho back. I would. The only issue I have with Coutinho is his wage. Like Coutinho is a luxury player, but rotationally, and I will slightly be a hypocrite, but just to make my point, because I do slightly love Tillemans. But what does Coutinho give you? Slightly. He can roll around on the pitch sometimes, which makes me angry. But I have to defend him for my agenda. But when I look at Tillemans and I look at Coutinho, I'm just like, okay, fair. Tillemans is doing more consistently because obviously he fits into the system. But I feel like Coutinho, he just did stuff when he was here. Do you know what I mean? And like, my problem with Coutinho was that he was always just trying to do it himself. And I feel like if he just had a bit more time with Emery, and if Emery was just able to, one, make him shoot less because he was breaking it down, so many attacks. But if Emery was just able to kind of refine the luxuriousness around him, I do think that we would have had a really interesting, that's the key word there, not good, but interesting substitute player. Because imagine, you know, when we're down and we bring on Zaniolo, that's when I turn off.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
The
That's when I
majority
turn off.
at that stage now. And yeah.
But like, imagine if we were bringing on Coutinho.
You think Rodgers would be the guy now to be coming on instead of Zaniolo? But even those substitutions surprised me, seeing Rodgers still below in the pecking order. Like Rodgers is coming on and getting chances now in the game. So, but on Coutinho, what type of minutes would you be talking? Like starting in the conference and then maybe like 20 minutes in the Prem War?
I wouldn't even in the group stage. I'd start him in the conference a couple of times. Yeah, I'd give him, because I feel like he would love European football. Like you look at his European record, like he's always scored in Europe, and I think he would like feast on European football, especially like against teams like Zrinski, Mostar. Like we wouldn't have, if we had Coutinho that game. Do you know what I mean? I think, yeah, he would have turned
just
it
the
up.
name. It's just the name.
Yeah, he loves those games. He loves those games, and yeah, the only issue for me is the salary. And I think if we said to him, "Yo, Philip, restructure the contracts," I wouldn't mind having him on the squad book. Do you know what I'm saying? But when he went Qatar, I could just kind of clock where his mind was at. He strikes me a bit of like Hazard. Obviously not as good as Hazard, but he strikes me a bit like Hazard, where he kind of got to his late 20s. He'd earned his bag. He'd kind of been fighting all his life to just even get to this point. And I think he was just a bit tired. Because even when he joined Villa, like everyone was saying, "Oh, he's committed, he's committed." I was like, "Bro, look at him. Like, he's seen an opportunity
like
where
three
he can,
games.
Yeah,
Three
like,
games he'd show it in that.
Do you know what I mean? And obviously, like his boy was the manager as well, so he's probably walked into that situation going, "I'm probably going to start most games," and that like the whole Emi Buendia like agenda came from Coutinho starting so much. We wouldn't love Buendia as much as we do now if we didn't feel like he was, sidelined for Coutinho. So
there's times when people got on Emi Buendia and it is forgotten at the start of that season because
that final
he's
ball,
playing, the final ball. And I think everyone in that position who's played off Watkins, they've had their times when people have got at them because that final ball. Yuri Tillemans has had it this season.
Yeah.
Again. It's just when
you have to think, bro,
position.
with Buendia as well, towards the end of last season, he got dropped in the final game against Brighton.
Yeah.
I think Emery opted with Bailey, Ramsey, and Watkins, and those two I think were influential for one of the goals against Brighton in that game. So Buendia was frustrating fans those times, but me personally, I like Buendia because I'll put chances created and racking up those type of stats, even if your ball retention isn't as good. Because he, at times, I thought, especially Brentford away last season, he was the only guy like creating on the pitch. But because like he's forcing it a bit too much and there was no one else there, to the fans, it will look like he's having a bad game. But like when you read the stats after, you're like, okay, hang on, if he went in the team, we wouldn't have created anything at all. So it's kind of like one of them with Buendia. Coutinho, for me, it was the physicality. Like you could see his brain ticking and what he was trying to attempt. And his innovation was still there in that sense. But in terms of getting to the ball, getting into duels, winning the balls like that, finding the right positions, he was gone. And I think that's just a case of the Premier League just being too quick for him. So I think ideally I'd terminate Coutinho's contract if we could come to that solution. I don't know. He might be satisfied his contract's till 2026. He might be like, cool, I'll just carry on going on. Sorry, I had to throw that one in there for 2026.
It's not even
year 2 of his contract and he's already been loaned out. Do you know how crazy that is, man?
Stevie sorted out his boy, didn't he? Nah, Stevie sorted out his boy. Stevie was on it. He was like, I'm going to get you a nice package.
Buendia is an interesting one because will he be the same player after our injury? That's the biggest question on Buendia. And I guess we won't find out until pre-season and the start of next season. So yeah,
facts. It's interesting because that whole 10 position, we tried different things in that area, and Yuri Tillemans right now, he's going off. He's doing really well in that position, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. We had Moussa Diaby in that floating area as well, and he's gone straight back out. Yeah. Minutes now. It's
that one.
It's been trial and error for seasons, and it looks like we've got the right blend at the moment.
That Moussa Diaby one, like, because when we signed Diaby, I was like, oh, okay, like Emery wants to go more for a 4-3-3, and I was like, I feel it because we played. Do you remember that? I think it was like a 7-8 minute period where we played a 4-3-3 against United, and they were gassed. They like in a bad way. Like we were cooking them because the whole game, like we were attacking like quite narrowly, and then as soon as we just put Bailey and Derby on either side, Lindelof was lost, Dallo was lost, and then obviously you've got I think it was
Ramsey.
McGuizzle, isn't it? Yeah, Ramsey was just doing bits
Ramsey was on
behind.
the pitch.
Yeah.
Was that? Are you on about the game at Villa Park recently?
Yeah, just after Kamara's injury.
And I think Emery saw something, and this is where I think Emery got the decision wrong. I think he was like, right, we're more susceptible to the counter attack, but it's that Spanish style of like tactics. It's control, and that's sometimes what I don't like about Emery is I never want to play football like Spurs or Liverpool, or even like a Bournemouth. They kind of play like this season. I want control in the game, but it goes back to obviously what Adam was saying, where if we don't get the first goal, it's a painful watch. It's such a painful watch because you just see us grinding and grinding away, and as much like tactically we can be nuanced and we can change, when it comes to the actual like the ethos of like how we play, it always stays the same because we'll change formation and like we'll add a player here or there, but it's the same kind of like, you know, the base defense. It's the same like build up and stuff like that. But yeah, like back to Diaby, like I like Diaby, like I can see what he does well, but I think we didn't actually realize how raw he was.
Yeah, that's the thing that got me is I've seen him in the Bundesliga, seen how he plays, but then translating to the Premier League, and he's just some of his actions, his touches, I just was like, that's loose. I didn't expect it to be that loose on the ball. I thought his close control would be, and he might take him time to bed in, and you know, there's plenty of time for that. But yeah, initial reaction was just like, okay, this isn't the player I thought we signed.
Nah, the part that angered me the most is the fact that they went and signed Nathan Tella and they don't even use him. And Xabi Alonso was like, thank you for the 60 mil because I don't even need the guy. I wanted to play Hoffman instead this whole time. So thank you for that. Which is, I hope Diaby kicks on, man, but
I think he will. I think there was a reason and a purpose. There was a purpose around the signing, for sure. And
that's the most frustrating thing with Villa players, though. Like, have you clocked how Villa players, other than Kamara and maybe Luiz, but I think because Luiz is so good now, we kind of forget how good he could be in his first season. Villa players rarely kick on straight away. I think Pau Torres,
Moreno, and Pau Torres and Moreno.
Yeah, and do you know what? Maybe it's because they came from Spanish systems and they just walked straight into another Spanish system. So
and they're used to it,
Pau Torres probably came in and he would like Emery was like, right, here's what you need to do, and he was like, yeah, I know, bro. Like you're forgetting that I was with you a couple of years ago. Moreno, do you know what I mean? Like
giving the keys.
Yeah, Moreno, like the same thing. Like Real Betis play pure Emery ball, but obviously Betis have just got more. You know, their players are a lot more kind of tactically sound. So it looks nicer, but they're not as good as us. But a lot of Villa players, they don't. It takes them a season or two. I remember when Watkins first came in, I was like, "Who is this guy? And why did we sign him?" And then he went and bagged against Liverpool, and I was like, "Hot take." I don't think he played well that game. He just was really good at finishing.
The Watkins man, the bias against Watkins showing, you know.
Man, do you know what? Yeah, my girl, like, because obviously I used to hate Watkins. I used to be Ings over Watkins, and I'll put my hands up. My bad, innit? But
I was close at one point. I can't lie, I was close. Man, and I was always Watkins, and it got to the point where it's Steven Gerrard. I'm telling you, it's Steven Gerrard.
He was the Gerrard.
It was Gerrard.
That was culminating with fans anyway, and there was that animosity between the players and Villa fans. And like, if Watkins had a bad game in that era, then he was gonna get tons of abuse after the game. So that's kind of what that was after. But
it's a profile thing with Watkins, though, isn't it? Like, if we had like a, let me find someone. If we had like a Nkunku up front and he played bad, fans wouldn't be as angry because they'd be like, "Oh, but he was silky. He did nice stuff."
Yeah,
there would be games where like Watkins, we like literally the first time, and it's the 60th minute, and this is the first time that Watkins has gotten a ball through the channel, and it just hits his shin and it goes out. And we're just like, bro, like, and I think that's where it came from because we didn't think he was clinical enough. But then I clocked that he just wasn't getting enough clear-cut chances.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how to play striker. So like my girl to this day, like Watkins would come on the screen and she'd be like, Watkins. I'm like, no, we like him now. We like him. You know what I mean? Because like she hasn't been quite updated on what's going on. But yeah, I was Ings over Watkins, and I think I was just being hella British, man. I was just like, oh yeah, like proper number 9. Like we'll get him behind, like shoulders down, like strikes the ball well.
And I think aesthetically, people do prefer to watch Ings in terms of like the touches and the little
for sure.
he does.
Yeah. The finishes, the variety.
In terms of functionality and like the output now Watkins is producing, especially this season. What is it, like 24 goals and assists in the league?
Yes.
Only Salah. Is it Salah?
He's joint top. No, he's joint top.
That's what I mean. So only Salah's matched him and no one else is above him.
No pens. It's mad.
No one's talking about it as well. No one's talking about
it. Yeah, of course it's Villa.
I love Watkins, innit? But the no pens things, I'll never give him because that's his fault.
Yeah,
that's the only. But I love Watkins.
Nah, you can't. If someone's better at something, it's better to be honest and just be like, okay.
Yeah.
It's better
I agree
to be honest with yourself.
But I agree with that 100%. But I won't praise him for it. Then I won't say, "Oh my god, he's done this with all no pens." I was just like, because if you were sick at pens, you could be ahead of Salah. You could be like 3 or 4. So I love Watkins.
Is Salah that good at pens?
What's
I think Salah miss a few pens.
I think the past 2 years,
his record him anyway because it's Salah.
No, I'm just saying.
I think the past 2 years his record's been kind of sketchy. But
it's Mohamed
again,
Salah.
I think he's just missed as many as other players missed. But obviously, because it's Salah, we expect him.
Yeah. I think it was that Liverpool one for Watkins where he's tried to put it bottom corner and it's gone wide. And it's just like, yeah, you gotta come off.
Yeah.
And I don't think Luis hasn't missed one, has he? Yeah. Touch wood, so we went from
talking it in before this weekend.
You miss it. He's my fancy team, and so I'll have to suffer for that. But hopefully, Luis continues to score like that. But yeah, it's just lovely how we went from Ghazi and now we just got Luis there as well.
Oh man, I used to hold my breath with all the El Ghazi penalties, man. And he scored.
That boy used to take his time. He was just
man.
He's so.
Shout out Anwar, man.
Pens. Yeah, big up Anwar for sure.
All right, bro. Do you want to talk about the guy in the phone?
I'm just going to run through a few of these, and then we'll get to the topic at the top of the video because I know we've got a bit of a debate on this one. But Andy says defensively, Digne is better. Moreno is better pushing forward, in my opinion. Gary says Moreno's our best option for goals from defence. And Gary said it's on Sky under the lights, so we need to be ready. That's for sure. I think our Saturday game record's quite good as well. GA says also something worth mentioning is Moreno's more of a risk taker as well, which has been clutch in a lot of games. He's sure going forward, he takes on his the fullback or the winger definitely and gets to the byline more than Digne does. Charlie says, thanks for joining. Charlie says, Forest away, the perfect example of why Digne is inferior for me. Moreno's composure in the final third would have won us that game. True, remember that last half an hour, the highlights of Villa was just Digne whipping it, hitting the first one, whipping it in.
It was hard to watch.
Nothing coming from it.
Painful.
Gary says Digne has improved, but he had to justify his high wages, and he has, but I wouldn't mind if we sold him, to be honest. That's it. I mean, if he's one of the biggest spenders at the club, you have to say to yourself, is he one of the best players at the club? Because, you match it on the merit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the case. Charlie says, #no to Coutinho. So Charlie's not having it. Gary says, TJ, you were doing so well as well. So I think this is all the Coutinho line here. Andy says, Coutinho is too big for his boots. Our dressing room is tight. No big time Charlies.
I feel like Coutinho was the opposite of that, though. Wouldn't they talk about
he was humble.
He was humble. Yeah, McGinn said he was humble and stuff like that.
For sure. Gary says at least Zaniolo's only 24. Coutinho is 13. He's definitely gone. Put him in Lukaku, Pogba, Hazard mould now. I think you might put Zaniolo in that mould as well.
Lukaku gets numbers. Hey, I don't like him. Yeah. He does numbers.
He does, to be fair. But yeah, Hazard, Pogba's banned now. 4 years. Hazard was playing YouTubers last weekend. So yeah, mad. Gary says Diaby's weird. He started on fire, but now he's so bad it's embarrassing. Hope he's not our Pepe. That's a big comment there, Gary, for sure. Charlie says Emery's the ultimate pragmatist, master of reality. Gary says, but the RB did start fantastically. He did. He got off to a good start. I think his chance creation numbers this year are right up there. They're still right up there, even though he's hardly playing, which is mad. He did start really well. Charlie says PFA Player of the Year. I think that's for Ollie Watkins. Yeah, I shout that big time. He should be up there. T1's joined us. Thanks for joining. She goes, hey guys, sending love from Jamaica. Big up. She goes, it's been a while. It has. Thanks for joining, T1.
It's been ages, man. It's been ages.
GA says, who should be our main target for the summer? A 10, a left back. Okay, we can come to that one. Quickly, Blooms has joined as well. Thanks for joining, Blooms. Because Coutinho was still waiting for his magic moment. He had two that comes to my mind for sure. But yeah, it weren't the whole thing. Yeah, you two, what's your thoughts, Summer? If we're pre-planning, what do you think we need? What's the most important position?
I've said my take on here before recently. I'll let TJ can go.
Yeah, I think we've bought Morgan Rogers now. Like, if we went and got another 10, then obviously I know Coutinho isn't with us. Something will happen there, but let's just say, for example, then we've got Buendia, Coutinho, Morgan Rogers. We'll see what happens with Zaniolo. I don't know that contract inside out. I know it was an option to buy, but I hope there's not a clause in there. I don't know if either of you guys know that contract a bit better, but I don't know if there's a clause in there which means that if he plays so and so games, that we need to sign him. But I didn't like the Morgan Rogers. I liked the signing, like the player, but I just thought, just give it till summer and see what we need first, because obviously we've seen it in the now 3 months that he's been here. Did we really need him now? And I think Villa were just scared that his price would go up. But my kind of thought was that we could probably, for that amount of money, continue scouting over the course of the season, because as we can see from all the rumors, we're scouting like mad. We could continue scouting and probably get someone from the same amount, when in the summer we kind of have a bit more knowledge about how the team's going to look, what's going to happen with Coutinho, what's going to happen with Zaniolo, how does Buendia look once he's kind of started back in full training. So I think the Morgan Rogers signing, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he proves me wrong and he kind of over exceeds that, but I don't know about that one. So I'd just go full on left back. Hopefully Dean's gone. Yeah, hopefully Dean's gone. Again, just because of the contract, we don't need a backup left back who's on like 130k a week. It's just not feasible as a football club. Moreno, I don't know about Moreno, man. I've got such a weird gut feeling that he's gone in summer or next January. I don't know why, but I just have a feeling.
Well, would you think both of the left backs will go then, or do you reckon that would mean Dean stays if Moreno goes? How do you think it will play out?
I don't think Mr. Monchi is going to want to sell two left backs in the same window. Just because you
not
at
if,
least
not
need...
if Marcus Acuna is available.
Marcus,
he really would have been a Villa player if Dean left. Like, he really
100. He was there. He was set. I reckon that was agreed. He just
like he still hates. He still doesn't talk to people at Seville because of that deal. Like, it's crazy.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't know much about Marcus Acuna, but every time I've watched him play, I've just thought mid. But
it's just the age, isn't it? It's the age with him.
Yeah, that's true. That's again like why we don't need another over 26, over 27 left back. So I feel like Emery would say to Monchi, he'd be like, "Yo, I at least need one left back for a transition, so that we sell this one, keep this one, then we sell that one later on once the new left back is kind of embedded in. Because if you sell two players in a position like left back and then the new left back isn't good, then you're messed because you don't have anyone that knows the system. So I'll get a left back. I don't have anyone off the top of my head, to be honest, who I'd get. If I was Aston Villa and I was like, yo, let's really make a statement, I'd go get Anthony Robertson from Fulham. I think that guy would elevate our defense differently. I love Moreno, don't get me wrong, but Anthony Robertson is Moreno plus the physicality and the defensive actions. And I think him playing in a Spanish system, I don't know where Marco Silva's from. He might be Spanish, but he doesn't play a Spanish system. But I think him playing in a proper Spanish system, he would be the type of player where you look at him and you go, oh, like he was really, really good. We just didn't clock how good he was. But I think he goes Liverpool. I think Liverpool have behind closed doors.
He's been linked with. I think he's been linked with Manchester City as well. So he's clearly rated. Like you do see links with Robinson always with the top 3 or 4 clubs.
There's a shout from Gary in the chat saying Lina Sousa as well will come back. So
the thing with Sousa is also
Ben Christensen as well. Ben Christensen played last night and had a good game last night.
How do you say? Is it Christen or something? Christen, but he had a great game against Newcastle. He was everywhere and he's so sharp on the ball. The way he receives the ball as well, getting forward defensively, I thought he was good. He's not afraid to put a tackle in. I really liked Christen's performance, man. So you could argue he might be ahead of Sousa in the pecking order. You don't know how Villa see it, or whether he might get sold in summer. There's going to be interest after that game against Newcastle, man. Honestly, like he was really good. So we'll see how that goes with that. My shout for a left back in summer will be Aït-Nouri. I don't know about the price tag on him.
I don't think we'll get him.
I don't know about the price tag on him and with Wolves as well. The Wolves really sell to us. I can't really remember many deals. Maybe I'm forgetting. But in terms of technique on the ball, suiting the Emery system, beating a man 1v1, crossing. Bro, Aït-Nouri. I've wanted Aït-Nouri for ages, so that will be my
Aït-Nouri is a baller. To be fair, I used to really like their backup left back, who Bueno. He played like a few games last season. I was like, this kid's got something. And then I was like, nah, he's just mid. He was fired up coming into the first team. But yeah, Lino Sousa. I've never watched. I've not watched a minute of Lino Sousa football. Just highlights, purely Twitter highlights. To me, I think he'd be good in Emery's system, but it's one of those things where it's like when I watched him, I was like, that's not the profile of a left back. Even Christen, I watched.
Yeah, like how do you profile these guys?
So it looks like Saka.
Bro, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like Lino Sousa. I'm like, could he play centre mids? Like if he had someone next to him, do you know what I mean? But yeah, like I think give Sousa a chance back up. And then maybe sign someone to kind of go in between Sousa and Moreno, and then do that thing to Sousa where you put your arm around him and you go, oh, I know you're third choice, but we're going to play you in other positions and stuff like that. And then just kind of like see out Moreno and then let it be a battle between Sousa and whoever we sign. But yeah, because we've had some dodgy left backs over the past.
Since we're on the topic of fullbacks, I just had to put this one in there. It's a shame that the scouting network, well, we don't know how much power Johan Langer had at Villa, because he did speak about being like restricted under Gerrard and not being listened to. But like you look at Leon and you look at like Gusto, who was there and available, and he could have been signed for a relatively decent price. I'm talking about maybe a year before Chelsea even got him.
Yeah.
You just look back and you just think certain positions where we could have benefited so much if we just had the scouting self and we just got these deals. Like it's just funny how now we're looking at these type of deals, but it's taken us into like year 5, year 6 of being in the Premier League. Like these type of deals should have always been happening for Villa. Always, it should have been a constant theme, not big money, £30 million players on £30 million transfers on 29-year-olds and stuff. So it's almost like we've been forced to now look at these type of deals because of FFP. When in reality, they should have always been happening.
100%, man. Like that's one thing that really like aggravates me about Aston Villa is we almost thought we were too good for those types of signings. We didn't want to do the whole Moneyball thing. Like we were like, oh, why would we go sign Tino Livramento when we can sign Matty Cash, who's a few years older and he's an established fullback at Nottingham Forest. It's like, why should we go sign? I mean, we were in for him, but they're like, why should we go sign Bergvall when we can maybe go and grab a young guy from the Championship with the same, like, do you know what I mean, with the same money? And I don't doubt that if Bergvall was available, we might have signed both of them. But you could see the intent with Villa's transfer strategy this like in January.
It's totally.
It's an entire different landscape. Now, like you can like even Villa fans when the sorry, I don't know how to say his name. I'm not even going to try and attempt to botch it. But the Serbian right back, when he landed and people saw the links, no one really believed it like that. It's just like, huh? And then you kind of see a strategy after that, and it's just like, okay, now this makes sense. Now we're being linked to Bellanova at Torino, who's like a 23-year-old white wing back, and you're like, okay, Villa is still driving with this strategy. Like you can see the vision a bit more now. So all these links to these young players aren't surprising anymore.
Yeah, we need to get like this older generation out, like the Chambers, the Coutinhos, the Deans,
Dendoncker.
Dendoncker, oh my.
Well, that's another signing.
The,
That's
the,
just
Ge- Gerrard, the Gerrard
Dendoncker
era.
is the reason why we didn't get to an FA Cup semi-final last season. That is
I don't
he
know.
is the
Do you
reason.
reckon though, like our pathway hasn't been that hard this season, like, and I think we just kind of like kick ourselves in the foot, man. Like,
Yeah,
we're kind of our own worst enemy. Like,
that's why I'm so worried about the Conference League, because we're so bad in tournament football. I don't get it. Like, we are so bad in tournament football. It's one of those things, isn't it? Like, someone asked me.
we should get to the point.
Hopefully, yeah. But someone asked me the other day, they were like, "Oh, do you think you'd have a better chance in the Conference League if you were like middling around 8th or 9th this season?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course," because now every Premier League game is a final, essentially.
Legit.
Like I always like mention this, is like football XP is like so important, because people are like, "Oh, we'll go again, we'll go again." It's like, bro, like footballers and managers, they use football XP. The reason why we were so bad after Arsenal and City is because we literally used all of our XP for those two games, and you could see it in the players. Players were tired, they weren't as motivated. Newcastle was such a good example. Like, we didn't play bad tactically against Newcastle. Like, the players just didn't have any XP. They weren't there, like, mentally. And when you're playing like all of these games, especially for a club that's now on the up, where you don't have pressure from fans, but like there's a lot of like heat on you, and there's a lot of like eyes on you from like football fans. So you got that. Then you're in 4 competitions. The squad isn't huge. It's better. Like, the quality is better, but the squad isn't huge. And then now you're playing all these games.
Injuries start to play.
Injuries, do you know what I'm saying? All that, like, everything's happening. And then you go and beat City, and you play them off the park. And we could already see it in the Arsenal game that the players were tired mentally, because Arsenal slapped us, let's be real. And then we go play Arsenal. And then after that, I knew it. I was like, well, we don't have any XP left. And that's why the last 2-3 months they've been a slog. It hasn't been Villa back in October, November, where we're just playing fluid football and like we're blowing away teams. It's a mix of the players are tired mentally, we've got injuries, but also now the whole league's got tape on us. So
yeah,
it's always going to be difficult, in it. But yeah, it's hard. That's why personally I've removed a lot of expectation from this season, because if I go, oh, we're going to finish top 4, we're going to get European Conference League, I'm just going to be hurt, man. I'll be so real. I'm just going to be so hurt. So I'm just in a place where I'm like, do you know what? We've had a really good season. We should get European football next year. If we don't get European football at all, then that's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's
I think the recent results, I think we'll get European football. With the recent results, and you see the position and the momentum again, you think now that it will be Europa League minimum for sure. And it's just about which way we get Champions League football, whether it's 4-4 through the coefficient. I think with Villa now.
Yeah, hopefully it's a coefficient. But I won't be angry. I would rather, if we don't get Champions League, I'd rather just go Conference League. I'll be so real, like, because obviously West Ham, it took them 2 seasons to kind of get Europe. I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like, West Ham were in the Europa League the season before, and then they got to the semis, so they did well, but obviously it was a bit of a weaker Europa League than it is now. And it took them a season to just kind of get European football. And obviously Emery knows European football very well, but none of our players know European football. Like Ollie Watkins was at Exeter. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't know how Ajax will play a base defense, like, because it's so different to the Premier League, so different. So I won't be mad if we don't win the Conference League this season. I'll be angry if we don't beat Ajax, but I won't be mad. But I will expect us to go back into Europe next season, whether it's the Champions League, Europa League, or Europa Conference League, and just like games like Legia Warsaw. I don't want that to happen again. Games like Zrinjski Mostar away, I don't want that to happen again. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, games like Zrinjski Mostar at home, like, maybe it's because I didn't actually watch the game, but I was fuming. Everyone's like, oh, that's the best game ever. I was fuming. I was like, why are we relying on a last minute John McGinn header to beat?
Do you know what that game was? I was there, and we weren't used to how a European side set up defensively, and it took us so long to break them down. We couldn't break them down.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be a draw. I thought they were set up so well that it was we were finding it so difficult to create anything. And that's just what you said, experience. We didn't have experience of that, and it showed. It showed because we really struggled to break them down. And
100.
Bit of play from McGinn, header from McGinn, and that was it.
Don't get me started on McGinn. Do not get me started on McGinn.
Go on.
You put him top 5 of all time, innit, TJ, and you list
Go on.
Top 2, and he's not 2.
Is he playing the season for you? Or is it Watkins?
Nah, let me put the agenda just slightly to the side a bit. Watkins is player of the season, but I think my thing with McGinn is he's limited, granted, but that's why I rate him even more, because when you look at his profile, it's so unique and it can go either way. And I think the way that he's kind of molded himself as a footballer, because he was at Hibs, and if you go watch him at Hibs, you're looking at a Sunday League footballer. He just had qualities, which is why teams in England wanted to sign him. I think when we wanted to sign him, he was linked with Watford when they were still in the Prem. And that was probably
at the time.
So like teams were like, oh, there's a player here, but like if you watched how raw he was, and just like, I think how people describe him now is how he was 3 years ago. And I think for me, one, I love those types of players. I love the types of players where you can't teach that level of sharpness and that level of kind of doggedness. And the reason I think he gets into a lot of teams is because you can't teach that. Like, I will never compare him to Rodri. Like, don't think I'm comparing him to Rodri, but you see how what Rodri does to City. You could go and get 100 players and you're not going to find that. What McGinn does for Villa, the positive things, you could go and get 100 players. They're not going to replicate that. And when I think about McGinn leaving, I'm like, okay, fair enough. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. But when McGinn leaves and we get someone to replace him, we're going to go, yo, that guy was just doing stuff. And even like a couple of seasons ago, when under Gerrard, when we were going away to Chelsea and that, and commentators are going, what is this guy on? It's like, no, he's not on anything. That's just his profile of player. Like, he can only play like that, which is a negative to him sometimes, because obviously he can be one-footed. He can get lost in midfield if he drops a bit deeper. Because his brain is always trying to find the next jewel and trying to find the next, progressive carry or the next progressive pass. He kind of is a bit too quick for himself. But I think as he's kind of got that captain's armband and as he's matured, because we have seen him mature, we're now seeing a player who is just so integral when the game is balanced. And I think that's really what it is, because the Premier League, almost every game is going to be balanced for at least 45 minutes, at least, unless you're playing City or Arsenal. So when a game is so balanced, you need a player that's just going to grab it and just tilt it over the edge. And now he's chipping in with goals. Now he's chipping in with assists. So
playing so many positions as well, availability.
Yeah, man. And I think as a coach, because obviously I think a lot of my bias comes from the fact that I'm like, I've been a coach, and one thing when you coach is you realize the importance of a player like McGinn, because you can have a Dougie Luiz who's just gonna absolutely dazzle the place when he's on his game, but when McGinn's playing poor, he'll still get very good stats and he'll still work and he'll still win those duels. His passes will be astray. He's being shown onto his right foot a lot of the time, so he's having to go back and he's breaking down the play. But I've always found that when McGinn plays bad, the whole team plays bad, and when McGinn plays good, the whole team plays good. I don't think that's a coincidence, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a mad one with McGinn,
because I hear you for sure.
If you look at his career, you could argue he kind of has been disadvantaged growing up in Scotland in terms of the coaching and how he was coached. And maybe if he'd been introduced to an Unai Emery earlier in his career, I think he's spoken about this before as well. There's a lot of football he did not know. He did not know certain things, how to position himself and how to just general football play that he's spoken about at length with Emery. But on the flip side, to your point, if he did have that education from, say, like a Spanish coach earlier on when growing up, does he lose that doggedness that you've spoken to and that rawness to get about the pitch and always enter his duels, like no matter what, no matter how badly or good he's playing? So it's kind of a balancing thing with him, I guess.
Yeah,
There's some things that McGinn's done over the years. Do you remember like when he's dribbled down the line and gone past like 5 players just on his own, like nothing, just to keep the ball away from the team? And
Well, then there's other times where it's just a simple pass and like he's got to turn onto his left and and it goes straight to their place.
That's him, isn't it? That's what makes him.
Like, you know how I feel with that as well. But maybe that I'll probably let that overshadow the rest of the stuff to his game sometimes. But that's where it's just the little bits where it's frustrating with me, just a little bit, because
it's how I feel. It's exactly how I feel about Watkins. Exactly how I feel about Watkins. Like, I never deny Watkins kind of, how great he's been. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't like his profile. I just don't. And I love Watkins now because he's banging goals, and obviously GA, he's top of the Premier League. So of course I'm going to like Watkins. But I think us three especially, we see the game more for stats and more for what everyone else loves. And we it gets personal sometimes, you know what I mean? And that's why I love McGinn, because it's personal, because I've played against players like McGinn Sunday League, and you hate playing against them because they'll do stuff like that. They're not fast, they're not intensely strong, but they'll take on 5 people and they'll get the ball. And everyone's looking around going, how have you let him do that? How have you let him do that? And it's like, bro, it's John McGinn. Like, he wants it more than I do. That's why.
Nah, for sure. Definitely McGinn, he's an enigma. He's an enigma of a player.
Honestly.
I'll bring it back. Gary asked the question, TJ. This is a good one. And then we'll go back to Luton. But this one here, who would you rather have back? Philogene or Cameron Archer? Or neither?
I don't know if Gary been watching my stuff, because I was a
Shout
big
out Gary
fan.
if you have. That's big.
Yeah, maybe it's just a coincidence because I was a big Archer fan, but I'd rather have Philogene back, man. I'd rather have Philogene. Get the 1 year refund on Diaby, and just
no, that's
straight back. You've seen enough. You've seen enough. You've seen enough.
Bro, if someone came to me at the start of the season and said, would you rather Philogene or Diaby? I would have been like, well, probably Diaby, because I haven't watched as much as I have of him with Philogene, but he's obviously playing for Leverkusen, whatever. I was just sold on Diaby because, do you know what I mean? Like,
that's where
I've heard of Diaby. Like,
I've been a critic of Diaby. Like, obviously, TJ would know as well, but then I think, oh my God, Diaby would absolutely destroy the championship. So then you got to think of it from that angle as well.
Yeah.
Do you know them ones? He's just like, you got to think, okay, it's still Diaby. He'd be put in 2020 in that league, in my opinion. So I'll be a bit careful with the Philogene's special. Like that goal the other day, the innovation, just the everything, bro. It's just. And the fact that goal went viral as well, it probably resonated with a lot of older football fans who feel like that stuff's kind of lacking from the game. That's probably why Philogene's going to be so popular as a footballer. Probably people will just tune into football games just to watch him and just to see what he comes up with.
That's a really good point, to be fair. I think someone like Brighton is going to sign Philogene, like a Brighton or a West Ham, something like that.
I think the link with Spurs, and I could see him going to Spurs.
His little brother's there.
He's a Spurs. Yeah, I think he's a Spurs.
His little brother's at Spurs. His little brother's at Spurs. Yeah, his little brother's a baller as well.
Oh, I could see that.
And then you got Johan Langer as well, who knows him from Villa.
Yeah.
Well, seems like
Jedinak used to look after the
you got Jedinak there as well.
So, we're gonna look back on like this period, and there's going to be some people that look back on it fondly, and there's going to be other people that look back on it and go, why did Chukwuemeka go? Why did JPB go? Why did Archer go? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to look back on this. And like, why did Duran go? Pending. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's another player that's back in training. Duran as well is back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel that the narrative around Duran is harsh at the moment, man. Like, people saying he hasn't done anything and that. Like, listen, I'll always be grateful to Duran for that Crystal Palace game, because we were struggling that game and it took a moment of magic for him to turn that around. I think it's a bit too harsh on Duran. Obviously, the media stuff that you hear kind of sways fan opinion, which is fair enough. And he might not have the greatest mentality at the moment. And then the social thing with Instagram and removing Villa, and I get it, that can hurt people. But in terms of talent, I don't want to give up Duran that easily. Like, even if he wants to leave, I just
saying that, bro. Marcus, come up. Thanks for joining, Marco. Always watches, and he says FFP. Now, is that a big factor here? Is that the factor here in terms of academy and how we're operating, or is it a bit of negligence on our part as well?
We've
Oh,
we've gone ahead of the curve. I think with FFP, I think the board looked at FFP. I'm one of those sad guys that went through our accounts for year 22, 22,
Yeah.
23, and
let's hear it, man. Let's hear it.
we have space, but the issue is when obviously like we started this 3-year period, we were a much different team to the one we were now. I think when we started this 3-year period, the board probably would have looked at our team and been like, we've got Buendia, we've got Douglas Luiz, we've got Morgan Sanson, we've got Cash. You see, like, you know, players like this, we've got Coutinho, will be fine. And they would have looked at like players like Kellyman and whatever, and they would have been like, okay, cool. But the issue with the whole Grealish sale is instead of going, right, let's split these signings over 3 years to extend our FFP, the Villa board went, we just got 100 million. Yo, let's go shopping. And that's why Ings, the reason why we didn't hear about Ings is not because it was in the whatever for time. It was because they looked at their bank account and went, yo, we've got an extra 30 mil. What do we do? Oh, Southampton have just said that they're accepting offers for Ings as of yesterday. Calm. Let's go grab Ings. Obviously, Ings is going to say yes to Aston Villa. Buendia, I think we were scouting Buendia for time. I don't know too much about that transfer. And then the other one, Leon Bailey, again, I think they were just looking for. We'd always gone with the El Ghazis and the Trezeguets, and I think they just wanted like a kind of like a box office player. But if we would have been smarter and if we would have gone, right, we can sign 2 now, 1 next season. Let's see how next season goes. Our FFP would have been easier. But because essentially we've just spent all the Grealish money, we now need to reel it in. And I think that's what they're doing. It's not we're scared that we're going to go over. It's we can't sustain our league position with the amount that we're spending right now. And in order for us to sustain our league position, let's just go for a different tactic. That's all that's happened. It's just a different tactic. Because I think last season they would have preferred to sell young players for pure profit so that then we can go in to this window and maybe sell one player and then buy a big player. Whereas we could have signed Kostin Nedeljkovic and we could have signed Morgan Rogers last summer. We literally could have signed Morgan Rogers for £2 million last summer.
Yeah.
But they looked at it and they went, we need a Moussa Diaby. We need a Yuri Tillemans because Yuri Tillemans' sign-on fee, I don't know how much it is, but I know it was more than 10, 15 million. I know that. So they've looked at this and they've gone, we need a Tillemans. We need a Diaby. We need a Pau Torres. Obviously, Pau Torres was a lot cheaper and that was just like a necessary. Whereas I think if they would have just used the January tactic last summer and gone, right, let's sign, instead of signing Diaby, let's go get a Morgan Rogers and let's go get a, I don't know. I don't know what cheap wingers came to the Prem this season. A Chidezi Ogbene. There was other Premier League players, other Premier League teams looking at Ogbene, right? We could have gone and done that, and then our FFP probably would have been a lot better. But now because we've kind of gone and got Diaby, Pau Torres, because I don't know about you guys, but last summer when we went and signed Diaby, I went, "What? We've still got bread?" And it wasn't a case of we still got bread. It was like, right, we got 60 M's in the bank account. Let's just use 57 now. And I think we're just kind of teetering close to it. I haven't articulated this perfectly at all, but just to kind of answer Michael's question with FFP, we're just trying to get ahead of the curve because a lot of teams are scared that with the new UEFA rules coming in, it's just going to be harder to navigate. And obviously, transfer prices are increasing. Blah 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 blah. And I just don't think we've been smart. So I don't blame FFP. I blame Aston Villa personally. That's my main point.
Yeah, and I did see something this week in terms of the Premier League teams are trying. There's a discussion. They're trying to meet up and try and get some leniency within the ruling because they're basically threatening that this summer it will be the same as January because clubs are so afraid to, buy players at the prices that are currently at market rate. So
I think. Sorry, I was going to I think that's the scariest part about FFP is that you don't know if you're breaking FFP until 1 or 2 seasons afterwards.
Yeah.
Because it's over a 3-year period. So you might it would just be an awful business decision to just assume that we're going to make the same this year that we make next year, which is why we went and got BK8, which is why we refinanced the stadium and sold it off to NSEW, whatever. Do you know what I mean? We don't know that Aston Villa is going to be as profitable in 1 year or 2 years than it is now. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, that's why they, as soon as we played good, they hiked the prices up because they're like, we just need to get it now. So
and I guess that's why they brought in Chris Heck for the global revenue. That's his priority, isn't it, to increase revenue abroad and stuff?
exactly that. Yeah, pretty like again, like it's all just money, and we're in this kind of league with Brighton and Newcastle. Notice how City, United, Liverpool, Arsenal, notice how they're not talking about FFP.
Tottenham are clear now, revenue
They're
wise.
spending.
Well, yeah, they have the NFL stuff and that kind of thing. I think Levi's done quite well with that kind of stuff in terms of their revenue, and that they're ready to build. Now that's why, again, top 4 this season, we have to just get it, man, because Spurs are ready and primed. I think
honestly
to spend
Spurs
big and just.
So Gary says this: surely 6 points penalty is worth getting if we can get the players we want, or is there more to it? Now this is where the game.
I don't know. You got to think about because how that would affect like player mentality and stuff. Like, I don't know.
But
I'm not sure.
They broke FFP by 15 million as well. It wasn't 100 mil. They broke FFP, but they broke FFP by Morgan Rogers. Is Morgan Rogers worth 6 points?
No, but if it was someone, say, who was 80 million and you had 65 to pay, and they would incur 6 points, then maybe.
That's what Forest are suffering with.
Selling
Brennan, weren't it? Forest could have sold Brennan earlier, but they wanted to weigh out for more money, and then that kind of went over the limit.
They missed the deadline.
It's tricky, man. Like, I'm glad I'm not in the position to have to make these decisions, man. Honestly, like,
honestly,
it's mad. Like, over the last decade, especially, how finance and football are just, the discussion around it is just the linear now. It'd be football finance now. You know,
there's more of an appetite
talking about
for
the finance
fans
about it as well.
To know about this stuff, isn't it? There's more appetite for fans to know about this stuff. That goes with like behind the scenes stats and stuff as well. Like, there's genuinely more demand for that kind of thing.
Yeah. So Michael's going. So I'll put this question again, as you mentioned, Spurs. Will our love for Villa Park hold us back?
Oh, 100%. But I still want to stay at Villa Park.
Edit. So,
like, it's literally like the most logical, easy equation ever. If we rebuild Villa Park, our revenue will 3x. That's it. Like, of course it's going to hold us back, but do you know what I mean? Like, I've been to Villa Park at least 100 times. Like, I can't give it up.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad. Because I'm the
same.
So
where does the money? What's like the spectrum of money and coming in with like sentimentality and like how you feel about? I don't know, because that stadium's so historic, man. It genuinely is one of those stadiums where it's just like, oh my god, the general public hearing that news will probably be devastated because a lot of people do love Villa Park still.
That's the thing, bro, that he said. Not even just Villa fans. Other fans talk about Villa Park.
Yeah, it's historical to English football.
It's a serious ground. FA Cup semi-finals, like, enjoy going to the ground and that. And then we've just, been around it all our lives, and even the area and just knowing where to go. It's mad.
I remember like my first time going back to Villa Park because I went Villa up until I was like 8-9 years old. Didn't go back probably till I was like 15, 16. I remember just going back and like you're possessed like with Aston Villa, and if we were to demolish Villa Park, then we'd have to really realistically move site because it's a bit of a bottleneck, that area, isn't it? As someone who is based in London, you don't want to experience trying to leave Villa Park on a Saturday to go home. It's long.
Yeah, facts. I can imagine for you when you come. Yeah, it's nuts. And when you see like West Ham fans as well, when they talk about Upton Park still, and they're just reminiscing, and they're like, "Yeah, I wish we were still playing there." And look what they've seen at the Olympic Stadium. Look what they've seen for their club, and they're still like, "Yeah, I wish we were."
If you asked a West Ham fan, if you said Conference League or Upton Park, they're saying Upton Park. Yeah. And I think
the West Ham one's a bit of an extreme though, because that stadium literally is just dead for like any team ever. Whereas Spurs' stadium, it's almost like they're more open to that kind of move. But I think with West Ham, because of the athletics track initially and just the stadium itself, it still doesn't feel West Ham to me, even when I watch their games, but it doesn't feel like West Ham at all. So you'd hope
Yeah.
Villa, if they did build a new stadium, did make it feel still like Villa in that sense, and it wouldn't just be like a soulless kind of stadium.
Where would you guys build it? Quick question.
You're the best guy for this, Penn.
I don't know. Where would you start? Because realistically, if you can't build on top or you can't extend around the area, which I don't think they can, you're talking outskirts of Birmingham potentially.
Would you do that?
Realistically.
I haven't lived in Birmingham for 14 years now, so I don't really know the area as well as probably you guys do. But obviously Birmingham is going through like a whole massive redevelopment at the moment. So there's probably a lot of land space and a lot more central areas that have just kind of been knocked down and are being redeveloped. And obviously, like with HS2 happening and all that type of stuff, that's why because at first when someone said, "Oh, would you move Villa Park?" I was like, "Nah," and then you just put the kind of facts together and you go, Birmingham's being redeveloped. We're getting a new train line that's got to be quick from London, so obviously it's beneficial for fans like me, because there's a lot of London Villa fans. And then there's going to be a whole lot of new business and just like a whole lot of new things happening. So if Aston Villa were able to buy some land, in that a bit more central with a better transport connections, and a state-of-the-art stadium like Tottenham's, like a crazy 60,000 seater stadium, do you know what I'm saying? Like state-of-the-art, just rivaling Spurs, then obviously it would hurt, but I'd feel it.
I think the big thing at stake, obviously that would hurt for sure, but the big thing is I don't know where. Realistically, I don't know where the plot is or the land is for such a stadium. Especially
I think the
city centre
and carry on, bro. Sorry.
No, just saying, that's the big thing for me is I see if that is the case that it'd be more towards the outskirts of Birmingham rather than towards the city centre itself.
Yeah.
I mean, Marcus said, I think it has to be the city centre to make the stadium profitable. I agree. But is there space around the city centre for a 60,000 seater stadium? I'm not so sure.
I was just going to say, when you hear the arguments against Villa Park, like people talk about the actual match day service is below par, which is fair enough. There's parts of like the stadium that's still not good enough. Parking's a myth. Like we know that as well. Parking's a myth. The trains getting back, that could be so much better. Like the infrastructure, man. Like when you really, like what you were saying, TJ, when you really start listening to the arguments and like try and remove the sentimentality and just be rational about it, there are pros and cons, definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
It's not like
for sure.
Not some kind of crazy idea that people should stop talking about. Like there should be a healthy discussion, I think personally. So
yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Like even like Trinity Road's like Stan, like it's literally over a road. Like you can tell that they've had to be pretty creative with the architecture to be able to fit Aston Villa into that area. And yeah, it's man. I'm even just thinking like driving like on the motorway and you just drive past Birmingham, you can just see it glowing like the distance.
It's true. That's
on the expressway, it's just there.
That's a good point.
It's just there. Yeah. It's mad. It is mad. It's a big one. Well,
that's how people know they're home, innit? Sometimes as well. You get the fort and then you got the Villa Park as well.
You get the feel.
Like,
yeah. I imagine if you come in from London that way at all, you get back home.
When I went United away, that awful Carabao Cup last season, like I drove there and I remember just like driving past Villa Park, just thinking, I wish this is Old Trafford. I was like, I wish we were just playing here. Not because it was close or anything like that, just because like it just gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. Like Villa Park nights are just something else, man.
Special. The sign lighting up is special. Yeah. Anyways, bro, should we probably touch on the?
Yeah. So I was going to say the Wolves Villa players played for both Villa. Is a certain Rob Edwards, and I was going to try and link it back.
All right, bro, segue it, man. Segue.
Link it back.
I don't want to like take off the like shine.
To Luton. Thanks, bro. Appreciated. Ross Barkley. Now we've all watched him this year, and I have to say the guy's performing. He's balling out this season for sure. He's having an outstanding season
in the league. Like he's playing. First of all, he's playing a deeper role than he did at Villa. At Villa, he was in the attacking midfield spot in that 4-2-3-1 system Smith was running, kind of, where Grealish would just roam about, but Barkley was advanced. Now, since his loan spell. He's gone back to Chelsea. He's come to Luton now. He's playing as a 6 next to Lokonga mostly. And bro, he just looks incredible. Footwork, range of passing, getting up and down the pitch. He's got 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 big chances created, averaging 2 successful dribbles per game. And like when you always look at his stat sheet after like each match, bro, he's everywhere, and he's so crucial to how Luton play. And honestly, it's beautiful to see that a talent like Ross Barkley can go to like a lesser team and just shine. Again, he's almost like reverse engineered what Grealish kind of did. I don't want to say Villa's a lesser team, lesser club than City, but in terms of like quality, like it's the same thing. So he's gone to Luton now, and there's genuine shouts for him to go to Germany this
I think
summer.
he has to go at the minute.
Bro, like the way he's playing, whether like Henderson or like I don't know, like.
And you can't use the not experience factor because he has plenty of experience and caps for England.
He's got England experience as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think
he
must have close to 50 caps, I reckon.
Yeah, something like that. Something like
he'd have to be in the March squad. He'd have to be in the March squad and play friendlies for us to see like Southgate genuinely considers him. So I'm looking forward to that squad and hoping he's in it.
I think that's my thing with Barkley is I watched an interview with Rob Edwards that he did with Sky Sports, like a behind the scenes, whatever. And they brought up Ross Barkley and they're like, oh, why is Ross Barkley playing so well? And he was like, he just wants to play football. Like he's at that point in his career where he just wants to play football. He wants to play football well. And I think Ross Barkley's one of those players where if he doesn't feel like he's really been kind of like, made, if the club doesn't make a home for him, I don't think he will play that well because like he's got a bit of ego, doesn't he? He's got like a bit of swagger. And I think that's why he didn't play well at Chelsea. When Chelsea signed him, I was like, well, that's not the profile that Chelsea signed. Like, there's a big thing about clubs signing profiles that suit you. Doesn't matter how good the manager is or the player is. Like, you need to sign a player that suits you. And I remember when he was on loan at Villa, and we saw glimpses of it. But I think he got injured around Christmas, didn't he? And by the time he came back from injury, he wasn't really there anymore.
The one player who just never played in front of fans. It's kind of weird. Like he's so unique.
We didn't really know about him, did we? Like, but
no player never put the team. It's mad.
Yeah, I wouldn't take him on the plane. Well, actually, do you know what? Let me backtrack. We've got more spots on the plane this year even. I think it's like 28 now instead of 24.
Have they increased it?
Yeah, they've increased it. I think that I might be lying, but I'm 99% sure they've increased it. So teams have got more players. Obviously, I think it's just to because there's more subs now. So essentially, you've pretty much got 2.5 squads, which is mad. I don't think that many players should be there. But I think players like Eze need to be ahead of Barkley. Even though Barkley's had a better season, I think if I'm Eze, I'm going, I was doing that last season and the season before that. And now all because I'm injured. I get the whole it's who's playing good now, but I think at some point you do need to take kind of like 1, 2, 3 season context into it. So like I'd be taking players like Eze. If there's space for him, then take him. But also, if it was my choice, I would take him because I wouldn't be taking Henderson. I wouldn't be taking Calvin Phillips. But if we're being honest, if 28 man are going, Phillips and Henderson are on that plane.
They can't, man.
If Southgate's the manager still, yes. Like,
Phillips can't go. He can't. There's no justification for it now. It's gone too far.
International
He's
football
not part of Man City at the minute.
International football isn't what it was like 10 years ago. Do you remember 10 years ago, man like Matt Jarvis were getting call-ups because they had 2 good games. And they would drop people like they would drop in like big players because they're like, you're not playing good at the moment. That's how it used to be.
Is Calvin Phillips a big player?
That's
my thinking.
Like, that's how it's changed now, though. Now it's because international football is so techie. International managers, they know that they've only got a month and a half to really show how good they are. So they are going to take the players that they know best. It's like because it's like international football is not as tactical as league football, but it's more tactical than it was 20 years ago, where you could just throw 11 people that you knew were good on the pitch, and they would play because they were from the same country. They'd grown up with the same kind of profiles. Because players are just moving around so much now, England especially, you've got players like Sterling, who's been playing under Poch, completely opposite system to a player like Jack Grealish, who's been playing under Pep now. Then that's completely different to a player like trying to find someone, Jude Bellingham, who's played in who's essentially German educated, and has been playing in Spain as well. So because now I think managers are like, I just need players that I know are going to play good for me, and I think that's what Southgate. I can't really knock it when I really put it together, but
I hear that.
I think that's just because he's not good enough as a manager to be able to instill a system well enough on a group of players that he's only known for 3-4 months. So
I'd hear that, but he dropped Raheem Sterling for the last few squads, who's a player he's relied upon for a number of seasons. And now I wouldn't say Raheem Sterling's form's nosedive to the level of Calvin Phillips.
you make that's a mad point. To be fair, I didn't even think of that, and
so
I do want to think that there might be something else there. But yeah, I wonder why he dropped Raheem Sterling. But I'll be honest, like outside of my like logical brain, if Jordan Henderson's on the plane, I'm going to be mad. If Calvin Phillips is on the plane,
well, you might as well.
I'm not watching. You might turn it off.
I'm
Southgate was flying out for Ajax games, man. Like Southgate flew out to see his debut. You know them ones like Henderson.
Southgate's going to watch Villa. Southgate is watching Villa, home and away.
He's gonna forget Watkins is even on the pitch, bro. He's gonna be like watching Hendo every single touch. Like that's where Southgate is at.
And Hendo's playing well for Ajax, man.
I know.
It's yeah.
That's gonna be a whole thing. When
he's got the storyline on that. Storyline on it.
People might be watching our game over some Europa League games, man. Honestly.
Yeah.
For sure. I think
100%.
Yeah, the draw. But yeah, so going to Bartley now. Was it a mistake at the time, or was it the right thing to do when we did get rid of Barkley? I know it was a loan. We didn't extend that. I think at the time, for me, it was the right thing, correct thing to do. He
was a kid in it. I think he just needed to mature. To be honest, I think he needed to go France. I think he just needed to not be good for a bit, because at Everton he was star boy, and obviously he's gone to Chelsea, and then. You don't need to be star boy at Chelsea to at least have an ego. Like he's in London now, like doing that big boy, and obviously he's come to us on loan, not played as well. And I think that's where he lost his confidence, to be honest, when he was at us. And obviously he went to Rennes last season, or Len, or
he was one of these. He was Nice. He might have been Nice actually.
Nice. It was Nice.
Yeah, because Ineos signed him, didn't they?
Ineos,
yeah. It's part of the project.
That's what it's
part of the project.
Where these Manchester United links are coming from. You never know. Like that's probably how.
Has he got links to United?
Yeah, it's got United links recently.
If United sign Barkley, I know he's good in it. I know he's played good.
No, that would be mad. That would be them not learning from the Casemiro. That would be not learning from the Casemiro.
Ericsson, Casemiro, and Barkley.
Not learning lessons.
Insane.
Barkley's like 31 soon.
That's insane.
2 years too late, FC, man. Honestly.
But I just wanted to touch on Barkley because I just love this new role he's playing in deep, and I just love when players find their spot at the right moment, in the right time in their careers, and start flourishing. So, yeah, I just hope he doesn't have a good game this weekend, man. But we're gonna have to nullify him. We're gonna have to nullify him.
At Villa Park, he had a good game, even though we won 3-1. He was comfortable in the end. He had a good game in that in his own area.
I was kind of scared to say it a little bit because of the hostility with Barkley and stuff. But I was like, hold on, Barkley's
he did
today, man.
He did. Who wants to watch out for then against us from Luton? Say 3 players that we should be aware of in the game.
I'd say.
TJ, do you want to go first? Or
Adam, go for it.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'd say Cole Morris, Ogbene, and Barkley.
Yeah. I think Ogbene's a big one. At Villa, went at home. He was just the pace that guy has. He's a real threat.
I got ridiculed at the start of the season. I got absolutely ridiculed because I was like, yo, Ogbene's good. And people were like, who? And I was like, Chidezi Ogbene, Rotherham, get to know, man.
Irish. Big up the Irish.
Yeah, man. I said on the Armchair Gaffers pod a couple weeks ago, I asked a bit of I was trying to fish for the fan hatred, but I asked, I was like, what does Doku give you that Ogbene doesn't? And
I like it.
And it's I love asking those questions because obviously we all know that Doku is better than Ogbene, but no one can answer. No one can answer that. No one can actually answer that. So I'd say Ogbene first of all. Carlton Morris, man, he's got like a massive chip on his shoulder because they dropped him and he was a captain. So I think he's gonna be on it. And Teden Mengi, I think Mengi's ego has been hurt from Haaland, and I think he's gonna look at Watkins and be like, okay, cool, you're not as good as him, so let me try and regain some clout from, like, I don't know, trying to do something. But yeah, and then that Clark kid in midfield, he's got aura, man. I don't know what you guys think of him, but he's got.
Well, is he going to
came
start
on.
though? He'd have to come in over Lakanga. Is Lakanga injured or?
I don't know if someone's injured. That's the start of a
Wait,
Marvin
what position was he? Because
well.
I was watching the Blackburn Newcastle. Was he playing in centre midfield? This Clark guy.
It was kind of like, he was in the two, but he was operating further forward.
Okay.
He was in the two with Barkley, and then they were playing. Charlie Mulgrew was up top, and then it was like Morris and Heath Chung off the side.
Yeah.
So
it was Clark and Barkley.
Yeah.
But I think what they could do is they could go Barkley Lukonga and then push Clark further on, and then Morris up top. So they go Morris
alongside
Chong, Clark, Ogbene, Lukonga, Barkley, Doughty, and then they'll go. I don't even know their centre backs like that. Osho, Mengi, Amari Bell, I guess. But Ogbene playing right wing back is scary, man. It's scary. Because
shout out Charlie, because I just said Mulgrew and even Corley Woodrow, and that's what I meant. But I said Charlie Mulgrew. I was just like, as a totally different player. So shout out Charlie for picking it out because no one else pulled me up on that.
Do you know what? Earlier you said Coley Osho instead of Osho, and I was like, I know what he means.
Allowing it.
But yeah, I
just allowing it.
Yeah, Ogbene right wing back is going to be Moreno's going to be in for a difficult game because he's going to have Ogbene and then probably to Heath Chong running at him. And with Ogbene, because he's right wing back, do I go? Do I stay? Do I go? Do I stay? So yeah, that's going to be a weird one, but I think we need to.
Alfie Doherty as well. Set pieces. That's been our big issue, and he has big delivery, very good delivery as well. So set pieces. Again,
I'll say this for the neutral, it's going to be a good game because I was saying this like a week ago about like matchups and like you don't need to be better than a team, but if you match up tactically against them, it's going to be a good game, and I think that's going to be a very, very good game because I'm just looking at like their average positions and stuff like that. I don't think we want that. I really don't know if we want that. Like the way that they line up, it's going to be difficult. It's definitely going to be difficult. So I think that game will win, not tactically, but I think down to individual quality.
Yeah, gotta be confident. Gotta be confident going into this one for sure. 3 wins in a row will be massive after the blip we went on. Huge going into that week of double Ajax and Spurs at home. Jeez. TJ talking, if we win, talk that talk next week.
Oh man,
especially if Scorch is on, talk that talk. You have to.
Oh man, I have to. If that's the thing though, if we beat Spurs, I don't know if we see Scorcher on ACG. I don't know if we see Scorcher. But for anyone that has watched ACG, you know that I'm in a bit of a cold war with the United fans, which I lost, which is why I was so angry while we lost against United. But yeah, man,
I hope I have to play the waiting game.
Yeah, man, that's it. But yeah, what I don't know if you guys do. I was going to ask what your score predictions are.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2-1 Villa. We're definitely going to concede from a set piece, but I think we'll need some individual quality up front to get a goal. So Watkins hopefully to come through, and Bailey as well, bit of individual quality. So yeah, 2-1 Villa.
I'm going to say 3-2 Villa. I think there's goals in this one. I think
yeah,
it's going to be a roller coaster this game.
I think so. I think it's going to be a bit like I'm going to go 2-2. I'm always a bit reserved. I think we'll win, but I wouldn't put my money on it. I'd put my money on a draw.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Fair. Anyway, I think we're going to call it a day. TJ, it's been a pleasure, man, having you on. Thank you so much. We've gone on for an hour and a half here, and it's going to continue for sure. Do you know what I mean? So,
man,
thank you so much
here,
for coming on. For sure. Everyone, go and check out Armchair Gaffers. It's a sick podcast, so go check it out. TJ is always there defending Villa and bigging it up. So,
always.
Check it out. Check it out.
As you can see.
Bro, thanks for joining, bro. Again, as always, pleasure. And everyone, again, if you could like the stream, if you're new, checking it out, subscribe, and if you like the stuff and the content. And also drop a comment on everything we've discussed in the podcast. We've gone all areas, covered a lot of bases. So drop your comments and your thoughts.
Yeah, drop a comment of some stuff you'd want us to talk about. Drop a comment of some stuff that you'd want to hear our opinions on in the next podcast.
Get the boys' engagement up, guys.
Facts.
Yeah, that's essentially what I'm saying to you. That's it.
That's the podcast way of saying it. That's the coming with
what TJ said, basically. Yeah, engagement.
Anyway, thanks all for joining, and up the Villa for the weekend.